talk about understanding real estate pre-approvals versus term sheets. Okay, let's dig right into it. So, I always like to introduce myself just in case you're not familiar with who I am. As I mentioned, my name is Lorelia, and I am not new to the topic of credit and funding, primarily for real estate investors. And so, early part of this year, I had announced about going deep and going deep in the context of understanding funding and credit for investors. And the reason why I wanted to do go deep is because we're now in a space in time where there is a very big disconnect in the industry of funding, in the industry of credit, in the industry of real estate. And what I've noticed is that many people are making those three topics a, a silo in itself. That funding is a silo, credit is a silo in real estate. And so, with that being said, most people, when they hear about leveraging business credit or business funding to access real estate, they 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 think it's about getting credit cards, like getting a American Express Platinum or getting, some type of Chase card or whatever type card it is that you desire. That is what most people are teaching. And even with that being said, a lot of people are either teaching real estate and getting credit cards as a bonus. And at the end of the day, I'm not here to say it's right or wrong, but if you are that person who is trying to leverage credit, leverage funding, and get access to six figures to invest in real estate, that is a whole nother topic in itself. And the reason why it's a whole nother topic in itself is because getting access to funding to invest in real estate is not done in silos. It is, at least that's the way I, teach individuals and what I share with individuals. It's not done in silos. It's based on the business at hand in terms of real estate. That is what it's based on. It's not based on just trying to get credit and maybe some real estate. It's about being able to do the two simultaneously. And that leads me to tonight's topic, which is about pre approvals and term sheets and why they're different. And let me explain the reason why they're different. And this is once again, why I decided to go deep on this topic is because I have a lot of people who reach out to me and they'll say, well, Lorelia, the reason why I'm trying to get access to funding is because I want to invest in real estate. That's great. And I always ask the question, well, why aren't you investing in real estate? Just do it. You don't need funding. Just invest in real estate. Oh, well, I need some type of document to be able to move forward with the deal. And this is where the mismatch comes in because many people, and I've said this in another video, some people are trying to do an advanced strategy and they only have primary basics. Pre approvals only apply to you as either a residential borrower and maybe as a borrower who may be going to go into multifamilies, but the type of funding you're trying to get access to, because a pre approval has to do with the funding. So if it's backed by FHA or any other governmental loan, a USDA loan, an FHA 203K loan, that is going to be a pre approval letter. When you start going into investor type loans in terms of fix and flips, uh, investor loans that are DSCR loans, that's not a pre approval. That's not a pre approval. That's a term sheet. If you notice what I'm saying, the type of document, whether it's a pre approval or a term sheet, is based on the type of funding that you're seeking. And these are the essentials that many people don't know because most people are teaching you real estate. And I said this in another video. It's very uncommon. I tell people all the time, I don't fix and flip homes. I'm not doing Airbnbs. And if a person is, that is what they do, they're fixing and flipping. They're doing Airbnbs. They're seeking, multifamily doors. They're not going to be in the everyday trenches of funding. Now, they may be in the everyday trenches of their funding, of what they're doing, but they're not in the everyday trenches of funding for different types of people based on where different people are at in terms of real estate or their journey or what have you. So what happens is we have people who are learning just a cookie cutter way of real estate. Nothing wrong with that. Many people aren't really clear of what it is that they want to do because most people are teaching it in silos. I'm going to teach you real estate. I'm going to teach you how to get some business credit. And then they throw the funding as really at the end of the day, they're really just kind of talking about business credit, but they don't really know how to show a person how to get access to it. Whereas I help people how to put together a capital funding stack. That's looking at all the possible alternative funding, um, uh, uh, all the alternative funding types of capital that you could get to be able to get you to your desired outcome. So, with that being said, you as a real estate investor or new or a seasoned or a newbie need to know the difference between a pre-approval or a term sheet. Why you want to know the difference is because if you are seeking an investor loan, meaning that you want to do a loan where it's no income, no doc, or what have you, specifically for investors. Because remember, they're looking at the deal at hand, they're looking at does the deal bring in revenue. Once the lender does their due diligence, you're going to get what's called a term sheet. Hey, JDL. I apologize. I'm just seeing many of these comments. I'm also new to real estate. Yes. Yes. You asked about mentoring. So yes, JDL, if you contact me, links will be below this. You can go to www.helpmegetbizcredit.com and let's have a conversation. I'm also going to, and this is for you, JDL, because depending on where you are in your journey, I'm going to be hosting a 3-day masterclass. It's going to be on Monday, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday. And it's really the essentials. It's not about real estate, it's about funding fundamentals. And I believe, at least the framework that I follow and that I teach many of my clients, is that understanding credit and what lenders are looking for is the precursor to funding. Because most people want funding, but they don't know the precursor before it. And that's why I said that what I noticed to be a blind spot for a lot of people is that they're being taught things in silos. They're being taught real estate. And that's great. They got their educator, guru, expert that they're following and they want to get started in real estate. But then the funding piece is really a big question mark. Because, like I said, a lot of people who are in that expert real estate space are really going to speak from their standpoint of how they've been able to do deals, which is fine because a person is speaking from their experience. But if you're doing this every day in terms of talking to lenders, being able to structure, once again, a capital stack, and that's being able to look at you as a person, how your business is structured, understanding the outcome that you want to get to, and then finding the best funding strategy to get you there. That's what my framework is based on. It's not based on teaching you Airbnbs. Like that's what I tell people because I've said this before. It's that's a newbie statement when I hear people say you have to be doing Airbnbs or fix and flips to be able to get business funding for real estate. No, that's not true. That's not true. You know, you have to understand funding if you want to understand and be really the spearhead be in front of your business. Because if you don't have an idea of the funding sources that are out there, you can fall victim to anyone telling you what's the best thing. And it goes back to what I originally said. When it comes to pre-approvals, a lot of people are asking for a pre-approval letter and they're interested in making investor moves. So if you're new to real estate and you know I want to invest in multifamily properties, I want to use an investor loan, primarily a DSCR loan, you're not going to get a pre-approval. And then one may ask, well, Aurelia, well, how am I even going to show seriousness to the person I'm looking to buy it from if I don't even have something to substantiate that I am in position to get the deal? And once again, this is, I don't know what they're teaching people now when it comes to real estate. I always say, if you really have a deal, getting the money ain't going to be hard. If you have a deal, money's not going to be hard. It's people who really don't have a deal because there are ways that you can be able to still secure a contract on a particular investment property, even though you don't have the funding in place. And I know that's a loaded statement because I don't say that with deceit. I'm old school, so I don't believe that individuals should put a contract on a property, tie it up, and they know they can't perform on it. Those are two different things. Those are two different things. So that's why I say that is a broad statement. Because if you have a deal, you know it's a deal. It's a deal in your market, however, whatever the numbers are. But you don't have funding in place, it can still work. Because now all you would have to do is work towards getting the funding. Because when the lender works out the numbers, do their due diligence, now they can issue you a term sheet and you can now move forward with the deal. Not what I think a lot of people are being taught now, which is tie up and secure a property, not sure where you're going to get funding. And if you can't get funding, you walk away. Not that. I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe that whatever you put your John Hancocks on, that you be in position to be able to perform. Because if it's a deal, there's things that you can work out for maybe another investor to execute. Because I don't care where in the United States you are, there's deals everywhere. There's deals everywhere. Don't matter if the numbers are high or low. There's an investor in your market who would be able to perform on the contract if you can't. But that's why I said the essentials of funding need to be understood, because a lot of people, they don't know the difference. There are people who come to me and they're having interest in doing investor type deals thinking they're going to get a pre-approval letter. That's not how this works. A pre-approval letter is based on you as the borrower. That's what that is. A term sheet is based on the deal. That is what a lender is looking at. Now, of course, your character comes into part, experience or whatever, but the two are different, which is why the decision making is different. Pre approval is based on you, your income, your credit score, debt to income ratio, all those things. Whereas a term sheet for an investor loan, those not going to play a part. But then once again, I'm it give you it, you know, asterisks depending on the lender who is backing the loan, because that's a whole nother animal. Many people want to tell you that all investor loans are created equal. They're not. As opposed to a pre-approval, especially if it's backed by a government entity, if it's HUD or 203K loans or USDA loans or VA loans, they are the same no matter where in the country you buy, because it is backed by the lender, the government. The government is the lender. Whereas with investor loans, they're not governmental loans. So they're all different. So if any mortgage broker who is talking to you about DSCR loans and they are saying that their way or whoever they work with is the only way, I'm going to look a little side eye. I'm going to look a little side eye, because I have relationships with multiple lenders who are in the DSCR space, and their decision making is all different. It's not the same across the board. And those are just little things that you're not going to know unless you are doing this every day. This is so hard to read. Okay, you're from Jersey and need to start from scratch, motivated to learn. I'm going to reach out to you. That's great. Yes, and based in New Jersey as well. So depending on where, the numbers, I'll be familiar with the numbers. Long as we're not talking anything south of Trenton. Because if you're from New Jersey, you know that it's different in the South Jersey than it is in North Jersey. And I'm like in the middle up to the north. So yeah, so reach out to me, JDL, www.helpmegetbizcredit.com. Links will be below this video. If you are interested in, like I said, I'm doing a free masterclass. These are the details. The class is free. Feedback from the class and replays are free, but you have to be inside the private Facebook group. Right now, I think we have over 1,500 members. So that is free. I will be sharing many resources on these master classes. Those aren't free. As well as if you need any feedback or you want to do a deeper dive into what I'm going to be talking about for those 3 days, there is another level, and that is a fee. So I just, want to be frank with that. And that you can go to www.diycredithub.com. I tell people that it is really understanding credit 10x. It's really it's not your how do I get a 700 credit score. It's primarily about how do I look at my credit and be ready for funding. Because once again, part of my framework and what I teach is depending on the type of funding you want, especially when it comes to business credit. Your personal credit is going to play a large part. It's going to play a large part, especially when you lack the three R's, which is what I talked about in many videos. You lack revenue, you lack receivables, and you lack real estate. How are the decisions going to be made? That's what I tell people all the time. It's not magic money. I know a lot of people want you to believe that business funding is this magic bucket of money that just because you have an LLC, you can just try, get some access to it. And if that was the case, nobody would be complaining about eggs being $8, $10, what have you. Because remember, I have an LLC and I can get a $50,000 line of credit anytime I want. So we clearly know that's not the case, so I really focus that DIY credit hub is really for that person who wants to understand the foundations when it comes to funding and credit. And I know many people feel like, hey, I've already understood the basics. And this is my answer to that. If you understand the basics, then you shouldn't have a problem getting funding. That's what I always say. Because getting funding is not hard. You can go right on to Google and you can Google how to get funding. So I hope I didn't freeze. Okay, I'm still here. Thank you, Ronald Robinson. Very helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think I'm back. I think I'm back, JDL. I think I'm back. Yes, I think I'm back. Yep. So, once again, going over the essentials, the 3-day masterclass is really going to be the foundation steps when it comes to credit. I'm a big advocate, and I tell people this all the time. I'm a straight shooter. I do this in real life. And I am a big advocate that if you understand how your credit really works, the part that it plays in the funding decision for you to get high approvals, credit and funding will be your oyster. It's not hard to get access to funds, even in the economy that we are in. Lenders want to lend. It's just that money's not cheap. In the past couple of years, money has been cheap. But I've already did videos about that. Hey, how you doing, Curtis? I've already did videos about that. You know, I mean, this is my second recession as a business owner. And this is what I'm going to say. I'm not going to predict, but I'm only going to go by the last recession in 2008. And I always tell this story. And I say there were people in 2008 who said that their real estate business took a dive. And I always say that is when mine picked up. It's because when the tables turned, I was able to see the opportunity. And if you follow economic conditions of that time after 2008, there were many opportunities. Of course, lending change, Dodd-Frank, the whole nine, but there were a lot of opportunities. Understand that gave birth to fintech. If you remember, during that time, you couldn't just go right on Google and say how to get business funding, how to get this, or what have you, because there weren't many lenders in the fintech space. It wasn't even really created. The Facebook group page is neverloseadeal.com. Put it right into if you put it right into Facebook, neverloseadeal.com. But going back to what I was saying, um, the birth of fintech came after 2008. Now, once again, I'm no Nostradamus, don't want to make no predictions. But if we follow the economic cycles of any past recession, there were opportunities that came after that. And once again, I'm a big advocate of position yourself to take advantage of opportunities. We saw what shortcuts did with the PPP. It's not worth it. Many people have either got hemmed up or will get hemmed up and are going to jail. Like those federal money laundering rules are not no joke. So, once again, position yourself for the upside. Thank you, Ronald Robinson. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go back to what Curtis is. Curtis, you said, does good credit help you be ready for real estate? I don't know if that's a question or you making a statement. I just feel like your terms can be better. Anyone can get in this economy. There are people, there are big entities, $1 billion, $1 trillion entities that specialize in the subprime market. So they specialize with helping people who have a below 650 credit score. But we all know the terms aren't the best. There you go. So there you go. Curtis is already saying SoFi just approved him for 40K. So that's just proof. Lenders are lending, but they're lending to those, because I know Curtis, he's a long time watcher. I know Curtis was in position. Curtis didn't go there saying, I just have an LLC and I have, tarnished credit. I know 9 times out of 10, Curtis had seasoned credit. He didn't go there trying to penny pinch. Yes, Curtis, you said right. Subprime market is dangerous. But understand, it's $1 trillion industry. There are companies that lend, but they understand it's a big risk. And so the entry to get access to funding is not going to be cheap. So people have that criteria being a business owner, and they're wondering why they're not getting the best terms. I've said this before, lending is a give or take. It's not a do I like you and do I like your LLC name. It's a give and take. So a lender is saying, okay, you want me to give you X amount of dollars. What are you going to give me? Because it is a big risk. I see, based on history, that you're not a very good steward or paying back your obligations. So we're not going to lend to you. Understand that. JDL, email you want. Email is LORILLIA at yourmoneymentor.com. That is the email. I wanted to go up, but I don't know how to. Oh, here it is. Okay. Just reading some of the comments. Just reading some of the comments. So yeah, so that is it. JDL, I hope you got that. Lorilia, LORILLIA at yourmoneymentor.com. I have Curtis, I have and I want to say that the terms are not the best. But once again, I believe they specialize, let me look it up, in the subprime market. And I tell people all the time, that's not my I don't really deal with the subprime. Oh, you're talking about the Employee Retention Credit Act? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're talking about? Curtis, are you talking about the ERC credit, the tax retention credit? Because once again, I specialize in funding, not taxes. I stay in my zone of genius. Thought you were talking about a particular lender that specializes in a subprime space. I know there's a delay, but I think you were talking about the employee retention credit. And if you are, yes. Okay. All right. There wasn't a delay. So yeah. So yeah, once again, I don't specialize in taxes. So talk to your tax professional. If you are a business owner and you qualify for that, hey, I think I personally feel like that with PPP, businesses who had employees had a bigger bang, and it seems like after that, um more ways for companies um to be able to leverage that. um they came out with other benefits, but it goes back to what I originally said, and what I say is that if your business is structured properly, and once again, I think that's why so many people were enticed to falsify their records during PPP, because they were not positioned right, but they saw that the government was giving um funding or resources, I don't want to say funding, but really financial resources for businesses who were structured correctly. Because if we want to really just get very specific about the whole tax breaks, understand the tax system is created for business owners. Like it's to benefit you employing people. So, one should never be surprised of the tax resources that are either in place or going to be coming in place in the future, because business owners get the best tax breaks. So, once again, Curtis, if your business is positioned to do, get that. I mean, talk to your your tax professional, because that's just what the law is built. The internal revenue, the case law is created for corporations, business owners, or what have you. That's why you have people who are just working individuals, and they'll say, well, why aren't I getting the tax breaks like the wealthy? Well, the wealthy hire people who understand tax law and to be able to leverage those things. So, but if to, but to to go further with that, disclaimer, talk to your tax professional about how that can benefit you or anything else that is part of the CARES Act. Yep, there you go, Curtis. Yes, facts, facts. So, once again, thanks for joining me tonight, and those who will be watching the replay. But wanted to talk about, yeah, the pre approvals versus term sheets, understand what they are and how they work, because they're not the same. And I think a lot of times people are listening to individuals who are in the space of you getting a pre approval and thinking that is how you is thinking that's the same thing that you would need when it comes to investor loans, and that's not the case. When it comes to investor loans, lenders and brokers, they provide you with a term sheet. They tell you your terms or whatever, and they'll draft up some type of document so you can be able to give to your potential person that you're buying from a letter of intent, so you can move forward with your purchase. Two totally different animals. One is basing your funding requirements on you, how much money you have, your credit score, your debt to income ratio. And the other one is looking at your real estate deal, how much money the deal can make, the equity in the deal. JDL says, setting up LLC in states for real estate. I mean, that's such a broad statement because I don't really want to say because it has to do with the outcome at hand. Um, when you start talking about different LLCs and different states, it that has nothing to do with funding. It goes back to no lender is going to say, "Oh, we're not going to fund you because you have a Nevada LLC or a Delaware LLC." That has to do more so with asset protection, um maybe tax, um you want to reduce your liability, but no lender is going to say, okay, you have a Nevada LLC or a Delaware LLC and we're going to lend you money without looking at all those other things. So it's not that it's a bad strategy, but it just depends on what you want to do. I find, now this is what I will say, many people spend a lot of time on asset protection, on entity creation, and then they spend no time with creating some type of income to come into that business. Or they don't spend any time understanding what funding is best suited for that entity. So, a lot of time being spent on entity creation or where they want to establish an LLC, very little time with how to bring a dollar into their business. So, but very great questions, and thanks for joining me tonight. But I will be live tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will be doing, as I told you, live masterclass for free. Those who want the resources, you would have to learn more at www.diycredithub.com and understand that live is only going to be available for 24 hours. And then after that, it disappears. But if you want the replay, it will be in the Facebook group. So once again, this is Lorelia. I'm signing off.